Hey everyone, it's Brother Steve Sprott here, and we are excited to announce that this episode of The First Three Knocks is brought to you by our good friends at fraternalties.com. If you haven't seen their stuff yet, you've got to check them out. They have some amazing ties on their site, and the unique thing about their products is that the closer you look at them, the more hidden Masonic imagery you can find. Their ties are extremely impressive and all are limited edition. Take a look for yourself at fraternalties.com. That's FRATERNALTIES.com.
On today's episode, we're sitting down with two of York District's finest to talk about the future of Masonry.
You're listening to The First Three Knocks, a Masonic podcast in the District of York, where we discuss topics for the betterment of Masonry. The opinions discussed in this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent the views of Grand Lodge or any other Masonic body. Now, here are your hosts.
Good evening, brethren. Welcome to Zaradatha Lodge here in beautiful, historic Uxbridge, Ontario. How was that, Brother Sprott? Pretty good?
That was perfect.
Coming along. I am Worshipful Brother Bertelia, your co-host, flying solo tonight without our other co-host, Gino Scovia, who couldn't be with us. And we have two guests on the show. Very proud to have both of you here. Returnees, in fact, who've come back to the First Three Knocks. We have Worshipful Brother Satpal Chagar from Maple Lodge in Vaughan, Ontario, past master. And we have Worshipful Brother Don Kemble, past master of Zaradatha Lodge here in Uxbridge, Ontario. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Bert.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us back.
It's been a while since you've been on the show. Lots has happened, and there's lots going on in the district, of course, and we're very excited about that. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the future of Masonry, and we'll be discussing specifically in our district, District Deputy Grand Master, because both of you have put your names forward for 2020 DDGM.
Remind me why we did that.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Gluttons for punishment.
You're looking for some extra work, were you?
Yeah.
Well, actually, a new challenge was what I was looking for. And my wife says you don't spend enough time out anyway, so why don't you go do something new?
She made her point.
Well, she goes, if you're going to spend it, make it worthwhile,
Yeah.
right? Make it count. Because I've always enjoyed helping people, and that's where all my focus has always been. And another year, like you said, when I was here last year, I was a year younger. Now I'm a year wiser. And there's a lot more I've gained in knowledge.
Yeah, very well
And I'm
said.
actually honored that Worshipful Brother Don Kemble are doing this together, and we had a conversation about this, and we're holding each other's hand all the way through.
Yeah,
Right? It's like being brothers.
the most Masonic way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Nothing less.
It's been awesome, too. Right?
Yeah.
It was a couple of years ago we sat down with now Right Worshipful Brother Scott Rickman, before he was, and we just kind of charted it out, thought about what could happen and what we'd like to see, and talked about how we could continue. So it's not a one-off. It's not just a one-time thing. This is something where we could build on each other's plans and really make sure that the district grows through sustainable development, not just one person pushing their agenda and then somebody else, and then to have it keep going that way.
That's very true. When we sat down, and that was one of my takeaways, and I believe Worshipful Brother Don Kemble's takeaway is that if we do something, we're going to do it collectively and move it forward together. Because the unity that Don and I have created over the years has been beautiful. We meet, we always hug, we have a great time. He actually encouraged me to get on this path with him. And I'm very grateful for that he could even think of me of doing this with him, along the side with him. So there's a lot of love and respect from my end to Worshipful Brother Don Kemble, and the same, I'm going to
It goes both ways, absolutely.
So there's no competition. It's just supporting each other, making sure that we're on the same page this year, next year, and going forward. It's developing the district and developing the brethren together.
Wow.
Because there's no I between the brother and I. We're sitting here together, so we're a team.
You're one.
We're one and the
Yeah.
same. So no matter what happens, we're always going to have the same mandate and the same outlook, because we believe in the same thing. That meeting was a very successful meeting, and I'm glad that it was called, because it made it very clear for me on the amount of respect I was getting from the district to take such a big role on. I've only been in Masonry, believe it or not, 10 years next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
When I got initiated. So
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, happy
Thank you.
anniversary.
Thank you. And because of that, the love and support and the coaching I've been getting from everyone has been phenomenal. And I'd like to give back to all the brethren as well and let them realize that myself is one person, but we collectively are here for the entire district and the entire jurisdiction. So I'm here as a supporter for Worshipful Brother Don Campbell.
Well, thank you. That was easy.
You just hand that over.
Yeah, no, and believe me, I've always been a strong supporter over years too. You know, this is one of the great things of what we do, and let's face it, we see more of each other than we do our wives. So
Yes.
you know, why not? We better be in this
I didn't even
together.
know you guys were married.
We are. we are together.
Together.
He's taking a photo right now, so let's do this.
Well, this is a good photo op. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I saw the flash.
Yes.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah. That's extremely well said, and I can speak from experience when I say that the district has benefited from your mutual respect for each other and brotherly love and support of the district. It is truly phenomenal. I mean, the work
Thank
that
you.
both of you have done combined, independently in your committees, it's had an impact on the district, and it shows.
And I can add to that as well. It's like whenever I need assistance with something, I've always been able to pick up the phone, even though Worshipful Brother Don Campbell's at work or not. He'll message me or I'll pick up the phone and say, give me a time and we'll talk. And if it's something I'm doing on my committee or in lodge, he gives me some advice. And vice versa. Whenever Brother Campbell needs something from me, I'm always there for him. And that's how it works. Because we're not trying to outrun each other.
Yeah.
We're trying to support each other.
Yeah, it's
through the thing.
genuine.
It's genuine.
Yeah.
Right? There's no hidden mandate, no hidden agenda. It's all being on the level, as we say in lodge.
Yes, of course.
And I mean, the
Most
last few
Masonic
years
way.
too, it's been a while now that I've been heading down to Grand Lodge every year. And I always like to check out the seminars and the various things that are going on. But you go to some of those district meetings, even just hanging around outside, and you hear some of the divisiveness that comes out of those meetings. And even jurisdictions or districts, rather, where they've got a procession set up and there's a rotation or there's this or there's that, it always seems that they run into difficulty. And one of the things that I really liked with last year with Right Worshipful Brother Dresser and myself, and this year with Worshipful Brother Chagger, it's that there is that camaraderie, and you know, it doesn't matter the way of a vote. Regardless of what happens, we know that the district is going to be served well, and we know that we're all going to be here moving forward. So it's not like someone's going to walk away, so no one's going to be upset. You know, we're not taking our ball and going home.
Right.
We're doing what we think is best, and we're honored that the district thinks this is a position you are willing to support us in. So we want to see what happens.
And I'm almost a firm believer that if you have strong leadership, everyone down below sees that and emulates it or copies it. And that's what happens, right? And that's what we're doing. I've known Brother Campbell, Worshipful Brother Don Campbell, for a few years now, and every time we've met, we've become stronger as friends, as brother, as journeyman, as you can call it.
Yeah, that's well
Right.
said. Journeyman, yeah.
So it's phenomenal that the leadership quality that's in York District is phenomenal, because I'm hearing things from Toronto District on how they're doing things. I hear different stuff in other district, but that's how they do it. York District, I found, is very unique and very solid, and it's York District, with all the stuff going on, is designed to go to the future with Masonry, and you have the right person doing it. Al Dresser is doing a great job this year. Worshipful Brother Don Campbell is doing a great job this year. The feedback I'm getting from family and friends in England for the with the podcasts they're listening to, they're telling me when the podcast is on, Paul, did you hear your podcast from your district? I'm like, oh yeah. So it's phenomenal that we're getting out there.
Yeah.
And Masonry's being recognized in a whole different level of understanding that it's not a secret society. It's a place where you can go and become a better man.
Yeah. I think you said it well when you talked about the deep relationships, how your relationship is deepening. And that's not by chance or haphazard.
It
That is from
isn't.
the effort.
But it's funny because, I guess it was a couple years ago, we looked at each other, when did we meet? And we realized that it was a Grand Masters banquet.
Yes.
And it would have been maybe a year or two after I finally affiliated up here. And we were asked to be stewards at the Grand
Yes.
Masters banquet. And so, and I forget how we were nominated. The call came out and someone said, hey, these are great guys. They should be doing the work. So, of course, we bought our tickets and we went down, we worked, and we ran afoul of each other there. And I think we just happened to be given the same job, and so we chatted all night. And then, sure enough, a couple years later, we're active in our lodges and we run into each other, and it just keeps going from there. And that's one of the great things about Masonry is that it was this one-off event. It was a great event, and we really enjoyed it. But what came out of that event, I don't even remember which Grand Master it was. But what I do remember is my brother, Satpal, and we've been hugging friends ever since. And is Zaradatha, we joke that we're the hugging lodge.
You are.
But that started with us, right? Because that was every time Chris came out and saw us out there, Worshipful Master Chris Wilson, he'd see us hug and he thought, we should get in on this. And so suddenly Zaradatha is the hugging lodge.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he put two and two together and realizes that we are to blame for that. But so anybody in the district who gets a hug from Zaradatha, you know where it started. So.
Yeah. Well, I would say one very noticeable thing about both you guys individually and together is both of your lodges are very strong, and you are key members of that strength. Your dedication has been very high, your support. You support each other even, not just in the district, but other lodges as well. It's very evident. It's very evident.
I literally took my initiation to heart when I got initiated. Maple's my mother lodge, so I treat it like my own mom. You don't want your mom sitting out in the cold. You want to take care of her as she gets older because she took care of you when you were young.
Sorry, Mom.
She brought you into this world.
Yeah.
So I at my easier for him to say. At my last podcast, I spoke about how Masonry is in me because of all the good people I've met. And it was true. We met at a Grandmaster's banquet, and ever since then, we've become closer and closer. I could pick up the phone, even with yourself, Brother Telly. I can pick up the phone with any one of us here at this table and ask for assistance. I know I'll get it, without a doubt.
Right.
Wish for Brother Don Campbell couldn't come to the installation for Maple, but he did promise me a representative, and Brother Steve Sprott was there to represent Zaradatha. So I was honored that he kept his word with me that he'll have someone there, and that meant a lot to me. It really did. I go, here's a person who made every effort to make sure that Zaradatha was represented at our installation. It was phenomenal. I was really touched by it, and I had given my word and commitment to being here at Zaradatha's installation, and hook and crook, I showed up because that's my commitment to Brother Campbell, is that if I give you my word,
on your birthday, no less.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
To me, that was the most incredible thing, is that you came out on your birthday, and I know that your family wanted you home and that kind of thing, and you were there to support us, and that was amazing.
But truth be told, I didn't realize the date.
Until you woke up that morning?
Until I woke up that morning, my kids jumped in bed and wished me happy birthday, and all I was saying the whole week is I got to go to Zaradatha. I had to prepare. I have to have this ready because Brother Campbell had told me, okay, this is what you're going to be doing for us. So after a certain age, I kind of phased out when my birthday is, and because the age.
Yeah.
You don't want to know anymore.
So my wife's like, where are you going today? Like, I'm like, I'm going to Zaradatha. She goes, you realize it's your birthday. I go, oh, that's why the kids jumped in bed with me this morning.
Was that today?
Was that today? And she's like, yes. But she goes, you gave your word to your friend Dawn. I go, yeah. She goes, I know you. If you've given your word to someone, you're not going to back out, so you're going. She goes, don't worry, we'll celebrate on the weekend.
Very
And
nice.
I got here. What Worshipful Brother Don Campbell did was amazing. I thank you for that. It was very, very memorable for me, and I shared it with my wife and kids. Now my wife wants to meet Brother Campbell, and she has met him and his wife a few times.
Yeah.
And she goes, I want to meet him even more and thank her from her end to him for taking care of me that day.
Right.
It was phenomenal, and that's what keeps us together. Even though we're so far, the weather wasn't great, and I was thinking about calling Steve and saying, you know what, the weather's not good. But you know what? I gave my word to Steve. I gave my word to Don for being here. I'm just going to show up.
Isn't it interesting? You always feel better when you go.
Yeah.
Don't you? I mean, it's an easy thing to fall back into and say, well, it is bad weather. I have these commitments, blah, blah, blah. But you're right. I made the commitment. I have to go. And I know you, when you walked out that night, you felt fantastic because you're with your brothers. You were cared for. You had a wonderful time.
Absolutely.
If I may, I was going to say, you were talking about how we're a party to some strong lodges, and we're very lucky in that regard. Thank you for even suggesting that has anything to do with us. I think we're both humble enough to recognize that we've got a lot of really strong guys in our lodges. But one of the things that has made Maple so strong, and Zaradatha is starting to recognize, is that traveling is what makes a lodge strong. And the relationship that we're talking about and everything that we've done, whether it's a Grand Master's banquet or the official visits and the installations that we've been to, we're made stronger through these travels. And Satpal's not in my lodge, I'm not in Maple, but a few times a year we're in each other's lodges, and then there's all the other different events that are going on in the district, and we're traveling around as district chairman in our own roles, trying to get to know the brethren. And because we're traveling, we're building this relationship. And that's really, I think we both agree, a metaphor for the district, right? The more you travel, the more relationships you build. And as each of us gets stronger and better Masons, thus the district is raised. They say a high tide raises all boats. And I look at Zaradatha, and producer Steve here and I have had many conversations about where he would be in Masonry if he had joined another, fictional lodge. Yeah. Like, let's say, hypothetically, he goes into Lodge A, and they're great guys, but they don't travel, and they're just very insular. Well, then he maybe really enjoys Masonry. He loves being with, young guys and getting to know them and that kind of thing. But he doesn't travel, so he doesn't get to know guys from other lodges. We had a rehearsal here a couple weeks ago with guys from, 2 or 3 other lodges that he invited. Right. He said, hey, I'm doing a rehearsal for my third. Anybody want to come? And people came. And so we walked them all through it, and we worked through it, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So It's that kind of thing. And because he joined a lodge that is starting to travel, and he's picked up that banner and really followed us through, now he's got a better experience. And because he's had a better experience, he's going to give a better experience to the next guy down the line. And he's going to say to his friends, hey, I'm interested in this. I really enjoy it. Maybe you should join in. And if they do, then they get that experience too. Right. So there's something to be said for that, I think. And I'm very lucky to have made so many great friendships. And as Satpal says, the people around this table, we know we can call you at any time, and that you're always there for us, and we're always there for each other. And that's what Masonry is all about. And the more of us and like-minded guys you get in a lodge, the stronger that lodge is going to be. The more of those lodges you get in the district, the stronger that district's going to be. And so goes the craft. As what is that they say at the various degrees? As so goes the inner guard, so goes the degree, right? Yeah. Well, every lodge that you strengthen it's one more cornerstone, as a previous cornerstone chairman, I need to say that, but it's one more cornerstone for the district. Right.
The work that you guys are doing in the district, maybe for the audience, you can share a little bit of the committees that you're working on this year. You've both been deeply involved with York District and Masonry in general. Maybe tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing this year.
Well, this year I was approached to become the District Education Chairman Committee member. I've done it before, and they asked me to do it again because I brought a unique idea about strengthening our district through the Wardens Association. Over the years, I've seen the Warden Association fluctuating, but the Warden Association is such a great asset to York District that it's creating our next leaders in Lodge. It's creating the foundation of what the future of our Lodge holds. It's creating a dynamic of an inspiration where our junior members can say, there's a place I can go and brush up on something, learn something, to become a principal officer in a lodge. So I proposed an idea to the district, and they liked it. And yourself, Brother Telly, you had come to one of my education events, and thank you for providing feedback. It's strengthening the district through education for the strength of our new officers. Right. Because if they have the tools to do their job, they're more successful. If they understand their bylaws or the Constitution and why they're there, they can make better and sound judgments on what's happening. Right, order of business. Why do we have to step inside and acknowledge the worshipful master? It's very funny. Today I was down in Milton at a courthouse, and I was listening to the proceedings of various different people, and they were going to wishful honor for the judge. I'm like, and Brother Dennis Rollins was with me. He goes, "That's your title."
It sounds familiar.
I go, "It sounds familiar." And we
Yeah.
kind of made education piece out of it because his son was there with him. And we kind of started talking about where that title came from, where it's used in the world. So this was a role I had taken to help with development of the new leaders, the modern leaders. I'm not a knower of everything, but I like to pick out the strengths of certain people and develop them, right? Like junior warden, I'm sort of setting a plan around them that they're responsible for the social committee. So they need to be able to talk and communicate with all the brethren around them. See, if a junior warden that's kind of timid, and it's kind of like, okay, let's work with you. What do you like doing? Well, I do this kind of business. I like doing this. Okay, let's draw that out and put it into your junior warden's work and give them a new dynamic on the skill sets they already have and strengthen those and show them how to carry it to the next stuff, right? So it's creating the tier of here's your foundation, here you are when you're senior warden, here's when you're wishful master. Another example is I was with wishful brother Nitin Bande on Saturday. We were at his house, and he was asking me for some feedback. I go, what we started doing in Maple was that we assign the degree work to each warden. So the junior warden is responsible for the entire first degree. Senior warden does the second degree. The wishful master or the immediate past master can do the third degree.
Oh, interesting.
And set it up. I go, the first thing you have to look at, the chairs that you have already have work for them.
Yeah.
Then you're going to say, okay, you know what, who can I assign this additional work to? If you look at the dynamics in the first degree, the junior deacon conducts the candidate and the senior deacon sitting there. So instead of having them sit there, maybe he can deliver the secrets in the first degree, and vice versa in the second degree. The junior deacon's not really doing anything, so he'll deliver the secrets in the second degree.
Right.
So really utilize the officers in a very dynamic way, and it'll really culture them. And the other thing we've been doing and we've been experimenting with is we've taken a past master in our lodge and we've assigned him a chair. Like the worship master, okay, Paul, you're going to help the gentleman, the junior steward's chair, and I'm going to work with him until he does all his progressions.
That's your mentoring program.
So that's my mentoring program. That goes back to that. So there's a lot of things that I'm noticing that Grand Lodge has as education that we can bring forward to our district. And if we can part that knowledge, because what I'm noticing, everyone's trying to wing it.
Yeah. Get by.
Yeah. Why reinvent the wheel when you have all the tools to do the job? And there, like Wishful Brother Don Campbell said, there's a lot of great past masters in our district.
Oh, my Lord.
Very strong individuals. There's some very learned Master Masons as well who've been in the craft for 20, 30 years that didn't want to go to the East or chose not to go in the East, but very learned individuals who can teach and help people out. So I'm kind of game planning around those strong people. And it doesn't mean you have to be a past master. You can be anyone who's willing to work with someone.
Well said. Well said. And I can speak on behalf of the Wardens Association as well. I think it's a very nice marrying up of extending that in the district as well. You know, that we know that confidence breeds confidence.
Yes.
And we can see that in the work in the lodges, and those who participate benefit from, and those who don't get the benefit. So it really shows.
And the other thing is, what I used to hear from my mentor, and when he was telling me stories about the Warden Association, he goes, the Warden Associations were 20, 30 years ago, were so tight that you could call on any warden and they'd come out and be able to do a piece for you.
Yeah.
Imagine calling up someone from the Ward Association. Well, I need someone to do dark work. Okay, one person can't do it. There's 3 of us that can do it together. Okay, good.
Just
And come
down the
up-
list. Yeah.
Down the list,
Yeah.
right? Maybe keeping a tally of what everyone does.
Yeah. We got to get back to that place.
Yeah, we have to get back to that. And
do.
you know what? I strongly believe the Warden Association is in very capable hands. Working with you, Worship Brother Telly, it's been phenomenal, and seeing how you're running the associations is beautiful.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of it as well, because with your open arms, I'm able to explore my own knowledge and experience as well.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Worshipful Brother Kimball, you've got a few things on the go as well. We'd love to hear about your committee work.
Well, I try to make that daily advancement in Masonic education myself, so that's why I love listening to Brother Satpal talk. He's got such a great idea when it comes to education. I love him in that role. I was honored to be asked to sit on the bylaw committee of York District. So for the last couple of years, I've been doing that. And this year, I'm also still doing the social media piece. And we've had a lot of success this year. And I've got to say, luckily, he has no voice. And I know he hates hearing anything about himself. But, producer Steve has really been a shot in the arm for this district. And I came in to a social media role. And this came out of that meeting a couple of years ago with now Right Worship Brother Scott Rickman. And I actually... It scares me to think about it, but I was the Facebook chair for another district 10 years ago. And we started our own Facebook group, and that's where these ideas came from. And so I sat down and I said, it's time we revisited this. I got away from that. It had some growing pains, and I was deemed not experienced enough to continue running it. And so after my year being chair, I moved into other projects, including president of my Wardens Association back in the day. And somebody else took it over and ended up struggling a lot more than I ever did. So it was great to see that progression. After 10 years, I learned a lot from watching that grow and develop and change. And so when we came together with the social media project for this district, it was built upon those lines. But we also saw in 10 years, Grand Lodge come out with a social media policy. So going from a place where the official Grand Lodge policy was no passwords on websites to now we have a social media policy. And yes, you should be talking about Freemasonry online and to all your contacts. We've been able to really take it. So we were able to build a mandate, get together a great team. And then at the same time, you have these other conversations going on. And so Satpal's talking about making some videos, and producer Steve's talking, hey, what can we do? How can we get involved? And I'm big into Instagram and all these other, and I'm pretty tech savvy. I don't get this whole thing, but he does because he's in marketing, and so he knows how it all works. And then this fly-by-night worship brother, was it Tellier? I think his name is, comes out of nowhere, and he's like, hey, we should do a podcast. And it all comes together. And all of these disparate pieces, just because I happen to be in a position to have these conversations, they all grow together. And now we have this incredible podcast, which is kind of moving parallel to an incredible social media group. And what may have started off as a combined effort, you've now gone your own way, and you've done such a great job. I know I love listening to the various episodes. I'm catching up now. I had a sick household over the break, so over the Christmas holiday and New Year's, so I wasn't able to really get any podcast time in. So on the way to work and the way home this morning, I was
back to the routine.
Getting some back episodes in.
Yeah.
So I got my Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. A few weeks late. And then to hear some of the things that are being done, even looking at what Steve's doing and building new groups, and we have a lot of our members have joined the York District group and then gone on to join the Ontario group. And so we've merged those two in that we, freely associate back and forth. And so now our messages and ideas are getting out there. And as Worship Brother Chagger was saying, we have all of these people from across the jurisdiction. When we were at Grand Lodge last year, that were saying, hey, we're hearing the podcast, seeing your groups, we're hearing about some of the great things that are being done. They're hearing about Zeradetha. And that's scary to me because, we were this tiny little lodge that every year was talking, is this the year we go dark? And now here we are, 10 years later saying, no, we're thriving. We're very happy with our membership. We don't, we're not looking for quantity. We're happy with the quality. We're great where we are. And I sat down. I always sit down. I'm a very bad blogger. And that's where this whole social media thing came from. I have started a blog about 10 or 15 times over my career, just about once a year. I say, this is the year I'm going to blog. And I write one, and that's about it. And so I always come up with ideas for a new blog. And I've got one sitting there in some back channel somewhere. And it's innovation in masonry. Because, of course, we're told that there should be no innovation. And we know that innovation is one of those 4-letter words. But sometimes we think that means we can't grow, we can't develop, we can't change. And stagnation is death, and we know that. Mm-hmm. If we don't grow and if we don't develop, then we're not alive. I teach grade 5 science, and we learn about the human body. We learn about the difference between living things and non-living things, and the ability to change and develop is the embodiment of a living thing. And any organization that can't grow, that doesn't develop, that doesn't innovate, is not going to succeed. Masonry has not existed for 300 years by stagnating. It has constantly innovated. And we're one of those, I think we've talked about it before, we're one of the most liberal conservative organizations that's ever existed. We've been around for 300 years because we started off with a great set of ideas that society is finally starting to catch up on, that everyone is equal. Yes, we're for men, but we don't care very much about that outside of the lodge. We're here to make society better. We're here to make our communities better. And when we talk about innovation, when we get worried about innovation, what we're saying is we don't want to change the work. We want to keep the base ideas the same. And we've done that. But we're reaching out to communities through cyberspace. I'm looking forward to the first virtual lodge. I know it's not very far away. And I'm waiting for a Grand Lodge to say, this is something we will accept and give a try to. I don't think we'd have any difficulty setting up, within the Grand Lodge of Canada and the province of Ontario, a Canadian virtual Masonic lodge that has members from coast to coast to coast. And how cool would that be to bring masonry to Nunavut, to BC, to PEI, and have guys coming together? I finally heard your trivia question, which I knew the answer to. I'm pretty sure you've already given away the tie, but the lodge that had a door in Canada and in the United States. Yeah. And, I hear that question. I think, how cool it would be to have a lodge that has a door to every community in the world. Yeah. And anyone can come in and join. And, we're doing the Grand Lodge Canada work, but no matter what Grand Lodge you're affiliated under, and we'd have to worry about, all the permissions and secrets and all that kind of stuff. But what an honor. What an opportunity to bring masonry out of the shadows and out to the world. They always say that we're in charge of things, and I think my favorite joke is the one you've told, which is no, just the good stuff. Yeah. But we have so many opportunities, and this district, this jurisdiction, has really benefited from having so many, not even young people, but experienced, willing to innovate, willing to try something new, people who are willing to bring the education, as SatPaul does, bring the education to the wardens, to bring it to the online, bring it to the podcast, bring it all together, and look for opportunities to really grow and develop that. Even as simple as taking the Right Worshipful speeches last year and putting them on our Facebook. Right. So if you weren't there, you could read and you could learn about his thoughts. Yeah. And, we know that guys can't always make it to lodge. We've had lodges where guys are in hospital. And what if they, did a cast into the hospital room and you had a webcam set up and that guy could tile his hospital room with the help of maybe one or two other brethren and be in lodge. Somebody who can't get out of his hospital, and maybe that's the end of his life. Maybe he's in palliative, but he's got an opportunity to spend one last night in lodge with his brethren. And you can't tell me that that's not official. You can't tell me that that's not real. And you can't tell me there's anything wrong with that. I think there's so much value to making sure that our brethren are feel connected. I think one of the things, that's where Masonry came from. When I'm looking through the history, a 150-year history, and I know I'm starting to ramble, but 150-year history of Zaradatha Lodge, we're looking at these guys that were coming together, and they formed a lodge because they felt they had to go too far away to get the good that Masonry had. And they wanted to be able to do it at home. And then you look at these guys that weren't able to travel because the roads back then were too muddy, the horses couldn't get through. And the only way people could get into town was by train, and the train wasn't running. So they called up the engineer and ran a special train just to get the Masons into Uxbridge for a night.
That's a great story.
And knew that they'd have to wait. They spent the night in the lodge and went home the next morning because the train couldn't run back to back because there was something wrong with the tracks. Like, just incredible things that have happened in the history. And it's all about bringing people together. Mm-hmm. And when we try to pretend to be more secretive than we are, when we try to push people away, we're losing that connection. And that's what social media has brought us back to, I think.
Well said.
I'd like to add to that, and Worshipful Brother Don Campbell is absolutely right. If we can bring Masonry to some of those brethren that are in the hospital, because I've been meeting a lot of brethren that can't make it but want to be part of Masonry.
Yeah. There's a feeling they're missing.
There's that feeling of camaraderie. It's a wonderful idea that a couple of brethren go down, set up a webcam, they tile the hospital door, as an example, and they're part of something. There's a lot of learned Masons that want to just belong. And it's not like they want to be known as Masons, they just want that community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was talking about when I was talking about York District strength, is that the community of Masons is getting stronger because we're bringing that, right? We're reaching out to our brethren. Our benevolence committee has been the strongest ever because now, instead of reporting back, the benevolence committee is calling everyone.
Right. Making sure.
Well, not well.
Yeah.
Just calling. I spoke to a gentleman who hasn't been out in 5 years, and he's like, wow, it feels great to talk to a fellow Mason.
Yeah.
He goes, there's a lodge down the
that.
street. Yeah, they missed that.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that happen, a virtual lodge one day.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's really a cool concept.
Well, and I got to say, I mean, you were talking in an earlier episode about a lodge on the moon, right?
Yeah.
If we can have one there, why not in the cloud?
Why not everywhere?
Yes.
Yeah, the cloud. Oh, there you go. Cloud Lodge number. All right,
1.
Grand Lodge of Canada in the province of Ontario. You've got a chance here.
Yeah.
You've got Cloud Lodge number. You give us permission to put it together. We'll put a warrant, but or a petition together rather. It's those awesome opportunities for connection, as you say. Sitting as master, I went around and looked at the members that hadn't been out to lodge, and I started going to their houses, the ones that lived close by, ringing the doorbell. Hi, I'm your master. I don't know who you are. That's a problem for me.
Yeah.
And we've done things like that. Paul and I, same thing, just visiting and meeting new guys, and we always make a point, because I've noticed you do this as well as I do. We normally go, as soon as we get into lodge, and we look for somebody we don't know, and that's the first person we approach. Hi, who are you? Tell me about yourself. Why are you here? Is this your lodge? And even the guys that are visiting for the first time, or we've got a lot now of senior wardens that are visiting prior to taking the chair.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Oh, it's so wonderful.
This is awesome.
Amazing.
And I you see these guys, and they look a little bit like deers in the headlights.
Yeah.
Usually they've got a friend who's like, oh, sit here, go here, talk to this guy. But it's this incredible opportunity, and I think that's so wonderful that we're seeing them out more and more, and then they're getting out and knowing each other prior to becoming masters, which is one of the great strengths of the Wardens Association. And whether they're members of that organization or not, they're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the more connections we build and the more often that we do that, the better it's going to be for everyone.
Yeah.
And you've hit the nail on the head. We as Masons or past masters should be out there seeking out that individual who's new, that frail, deer in the headlights sort of look, and approach them. When I meet a new person that's a Masons, I should tell them I'm Paul Chagger, because I want to get to know you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them kind of get surprised when they see me put my apron on and put past master. Oh, you're a past master. I go, first and foremost, I'm your brother. Welcome to Masonry.
Yeah. And
that's what it is. And it's phenomenal to see what wardens are coming out more. even our wardens were coming out before their installation, and that gives a lot of strength because they're seeing how things are done. And the other thing I'm beginning to notice as well, I'm not sure if you are, is that there's a commonality coming across on how the installation's happening. There's like almost, so it's becoming very similar everywhere. There's not this, when I joined, there was radical differences. I think it's beginning to get more streamlined.
That's good. That's a good
because
sign.
all the visitations are happening by everyone.
Yeah.
Well, and we're learning from each other, right?
Yes.
The brother secretary and I, Emilio Testa, were talking about this the other day, and the fact that we've got this Dropbox now that, I started many years ago, and we've got every degree we've run for the past 5 or 6 years on there. And so who did the dark work that year in the third degree. Oh, it was this person. Okay, great. Well, we don't have anybody right now. Let's call him up. Oh, he can't do it? Okay, well, who did? Oh, this is another name. Here's another name.
Yeah.
And so you build this database. And my mother lodge, Mount Sinai Pillars down in Toronto, Don Valley, the director of the work, Right Worship Brother Michael Litvak, actually surveyed all of the brethren in lodge at a time when the membership was well over 100 and said, what can you do? And everybody who responded, he collected all that stuff and he created this great big database. And we weren't as successful when I tried that with Zeradetha. We didn't get, I think, 5 responses. But
you got 5. That's
we got
pretty
5.
Good.
But as you got to know who could do what, and we just started putting that all together. And the same is true with these installations. These installation trestle boards come out, and now that we're visiting and we're on more of those, then you're pulling that. And if you have somebody from your lodge who's going to an installation at True Blue or going to one at Maple or going to one wherever, you're able to pull this together. Or Tuscan this week, Thursday. Thursday. I'm looking forward to that one. So you're pulling these pieces together, and then you're saying, oh, well, I need someone to do that. And look, who's doing it? Right Worshipful Dorian Baxter's doing that. All right, well, let's get him in, and I know he can do the piece.
Right.
And then you get a couple of these guys, and I mean, again, talk about the depth in the bench with York District. Somebody like a Walter Foster or an Elwyn Earl who can do everything.
Man, these guys show up and they can run the whole thing.
Well, and that's the trick. So I started bringing 5 or 6 of those guys out, because then if anyone's not there, you've got someone who can do it at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. So it's easy to look good. When you're supported by so many. That's one of my favorite quotes is, if I can see further than others, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants.
That's
true. Very much the way
Yeah.
I feel about what we do here. Worship Brother tell you're no different. I've started podcasting with my class at work. I'm looking at ways that I can use this in other parts of my career, and just I'm having so much fun with it. And this all comes from you.
Yeah.
And we learn from each other, we grow from each other. In an earlier podcast that I was just listening to, you were talking about the opportunities that you find in life, and I think Gino had mentioned about the fact that we change careers on average 3 times, and it's about finding a place where you feel fulfilled and you feel challenged, but you also see opportunity. And I think that's part of the reason we're both in this quote-unquote race right now for DD. It's because we both feel like it's a great challenge, and we both feel like there's so many opportunities available, and that's really powerful.
That's a great segue as well. If we think of the time, a Masonic year goes by so fast. I mean, you both know this better than anyone, being past masters, but we are essentially 6 months away from a transition of DDGM. So what, maybe a question for both of you is what has compelled you to put your name forward here and go for it?
All right. It's been a long time coming for me. I was approached a number of years ago by a past Right Worshipful, and he said, hey, you ever thought about, you've done some great things at Zeradetha, have you ever thought about it? And I said, no, I honestly never had. I thought it was something I would do when I had gray hair, and oh, hey, I've got gray hair, so I guess it's time. But I figured it was more of a retirement thing, more when my family was settled. And he was really pushy, because that's who he is, and we love him for it. And he was saying, you should really think about it. You should really do it. So I went to a couple of my mentors, and the great thing about having been master in 2 lodges in 2 districts is I've got this great collection of mentors who know each other, but come from very different worlds. Kind of country mouse, city mouse is how I'm country Mason, city Mason. And so I talked to the guys from Zeradetha, I talked to the guys from Mount Sinai Pillars, and then I had a very interesting couple of moments where a couple of the guys said, we want to come and talk, and we need your wife there. So just like my initial interview, a couple of these very respectable, one of them is he's my Masonic father. We joke that he's my adopted father because I'm the age of his eldest child. And he and another gentleman came up, they met with my wife and I, and they said, do you realize what you're talking about here? And that was an eye-opener for my wife and I. And then another guy wasn't able to make it, and I was at an official visit, and he came and he said, here's a letter. And he'd written 5 or 6 pages. Same thing, same concerns, and just, yes, we think you'd be good. We don't think it's the time. They talked about, the standard from their point of view as past right worshipfuls was at least 5 years after you've gotten out of the chair. And I can fully understand that now in a way that, when I thought I was ready, I wasn't. Now I don't think I'm ready, and I think I'm way more ready than I was back then.
The irony of education, huh?
Yeah, and it's who's the fool, the greatest fool is the one who doesn't realize what he doesn't know, right? and that was it, and just recognizing that there was so much more to learn. I have been driven for this because I think I'm wanted. And if I have something that people think I have to offer, if you're seeing something in me as a district, and you think that I'm the right person for the job, certainly the past masters in Zaradetha have been never short of praise. And I'm very much like producer Steve. It's very hard to hear somebody say nice things about me. I like to joke that I'm just not used to it, but in truth, I'm very lucky. I have a very supportive family at home. My daughters, where are you going tonight, Daddy? Oh, I've got to go to lodge. Oh, okay, well, have fun.
Yeah.
Can we come see Uncle Steve and Uncle Emilio, Uncle Chris? And, my 3 daughters walk into lodge and they call this Daddy's second home. But they recognize the guys, and, my daughters will never worry about being taken care of.
Right.
I have no concerns for them. They have so many great supports. And I look at my baby looked at me, and she's been really cranky all day. And I got home and she was just screaming at my wife's ankles. And my wife looked at me, she's like, she's been like this all day. And I picked her up and we played a little bit. And then I went to leave, and she turned, she looked at me over the back of the couch, and it was this big smile, and she was just waving frantically, which I'm doing, and of course nobody can see. And
It's a good wave.
Yeah, she just had this goofy grin on her face. I was like, and she was just so happy to say bye, and I'll see you soon. But she knew I was going to a good place.
Yeah.
And so to have the support of the district, the support of my family, my wife took this entire year off of work. She extended her mat leave because we thought that this might be a year, and she wanted to make sure that she was there for me. So,
wow.
To know that there's that kind of love and support from family for sure, but from my brethren as well. Mm-hmm. The comments that people have been making, and this, you'll be great as a DD. You already know this, you already know that. I've always had a head for ridiculous pieces of information, which I never thought would be very useful, except on multiple choice exams, which I always aced because I would remember random sentences from textbooks, and procedures like protocol and etiquette sticks in my head.
Yeah.
And Gord Crutcher will be the first one to tell you I still screw things up and I have horrible ideas, but I'm not afraid to ask. And so I'll say, hey, Gord, I want to bring the guys in 5 waves and do this. What are you talking about, Don? No, 1 wave. 1. Where did those 5 garbage come from? No, that was my idea.
It was direct Masonic feedback.
It's like, have you read the protocol and etiquette number 17A? It's like, yes, I've read it. Well, then why aren't you doing it? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. But recognizing that there's so much out there, and every so often I just seem to have good ideas. And, we've been really lucky. We're in a real uptick right now. The guys wanted me on the bylaws committee, and that committee has done such incredible work. Mm-hmm. And I don't for a second claim to have any part in that other than just be an incredible sponge. I'm sitting there listening to these learned brethren that are on that committee who know things like finance. And I can't make 1 and 1 equal 2 most of the time when I'm balancing my checkbook. But, they're talking about the ins and outs and percentages and how this could work. And you've got Right Worship Joe Whitmore, who knows this district. Like he's the pioneer of the district. And Right Worship Al Dvorak, who knows everything about Masonry and about the foundation and about where things should be in our charity. To see all that come together and to be a part of that has been incredible. And then to have those guys saying, hey, you do a good job, and you're paying attention. You know what the issues are. I can see it on the bylaw committee because it comes down to the amendments that are being put forward. We can see where we're struggling as a district. And I think that committee was a masterstroke because it really brought everything to the fore, and it gave guys who have concerns a way to deal with their concerns and bring them forward and say, this is an issue.
Sure. Yeah.
So, you asked me why I'm interested. And I think, it's one of those, the stars are aligned and everything right now in my life is at a good point. I'm in a job that's settled. My family is very young. They're not into sports. They're not into dance. We do have a swim lesson, but other than that, there's not a lot that I'm missing out on to take an extra few hundred nights out of the year to be in Masons. And, I've got that support from my lovely wife, who is such a Masonic supporter. I mean, she caters this lodge. She's out all the time. She knows more Masons than I do. She knows more of the work than I do. I mean, she's just incredible. So, I give her so much credit, and knowing that she's there in my corner, knowing that, I've got so many people pulling for me. And then, I'm sitting next to my rival. We were holding hands earlier. We hug all the time. And we both keep talking about how awesome the other guy is. Right there, that tells me, last year with Al, we didn't have much of any relationship going into that race, but by the end of it, we look at each other, we as brethren, we're respectful, we understand, and we work together on things. And he'll email me and say, hey, what about this? Or I'll say, hey, I need $100. Can you make that happen? He's, yeah, I think so. Why? And I tell him, oh yeah, no, that sounds good. What, how you think about doing it? Yep, no, that's, yep. Perfect as always. Yep, go ahead, do that. So, just having those relationships and having that recognition, this is a good time. And if not now, then, well, hopefully now, but if not now, 30, 40 years from now, maybe I'll try again. But it's, this is a good time for me, and so why not?
Well said. Worshipful Brother Chagger.
Well, how can you beat that?
Yeah, it was well said.
Well, I have a similar story to Worshipful Brother Don Campbell. I was approached by Right Worshipful as well, and I was a new Mason at the time, and he goes, something about you. And I'm like, what is that? I go, I just joined, and I'm an entered apprentice. He goes, you're going to go far. And he kept tabs on me for many, many, many years, and he followed me through the chairs, got me involved with the district. And then the conversation started happening with me when I was junior ward, and he goes, do you ever want to think about going into district? You're already helping out about running for DDGM one day. I go, if I can make it to the east, I'll be happy.
Right. The pinnacle goal.
That's the pinnacle goal. That's the highest honor your lodge can bestow upon you. That's what I'm aiming for right now. And I never really thought of DDGM, because my goal was always fixated when I got into the warden's chair to become master and learn to be a good master. And as I started traveling the district, and traveling district is very, very crucial and very key. I met a lot of right worshipfuls. I met a lot of very worshipfuls. I started talking to them. They started talking to me. And then they started talking to me. Oh, Paul, we're hearing about you. What's so special about you? I go, I can say my name. That's so special.
How's that?
I go, how's that? They said, no, we have our eye on you. And then last year or year before, the past masters of Maple approached me, and I was director of ceremonies. They said, we'd like to put your name up. I go, I'm not looking at doing this. My goal was to become master of the lodge and just mentor people. I love mentoring people. I love teaching out new things. That's where my passion and heart is. They go, we'd like you to take that to the next level of district. We want to take your passion to the next level. And we've got some letters from right worshipfuls that are also requesting that you start looking at it. So I started looking at it, and I was approached by Ross Guerrero. He says, okay, Paul, There's a DDGM course happening. You're going.
Good news.
It was
You're
basically,
signed up.
Are you going to be going? I said, well, he goes, no, you're going. You're signed up already. I'll see you here on Saturday. I ended up going down to Sharon Lodge. We did the course there, and a lot of the people were excited. This was a few years ago. And at that time when I was doing the course, Brother Kemble and I were getting closer and closer, and I started to say, okay, brother, I've been asked to do this course. I'm kind of confused on it. And he goes, don't worry, Paul, we'll work through it together. And that's how, when you're working with someone great, you get better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he kind of guided me on reading the Constitution more in depth and really understanding it. And he goes, really understand the role of a DDGM. So there's been support from Brother Campbell for very many years when I did it. And he asked me at one point, he goes, look at that running. I go, well, I'm doing the course because I want to learn. I want to learn because I'm done as a master. I want to know what's next for me. So I was eyeing the College of Freemasonry course to get those done and get my designation, which he supported me on as well. So there's been a lot of support from him all along. But then as I started traveling more and taking more parts in installation, more Right Worshipables, and I had a couple of Right Worshipable pastors, 2 Deputy Grandmasters from Toronto come and approach me. They're like, there's something about you that we're hearing. I go, what are you hearing about a guy from York District? They go, there's something unique about you, that you're a sponge. Like Brother Kemble said, he's like a sponge. He goes, you're absorbing things, but you're not keeping it. You're absorbing it like a sponge, and then you're expelling it out to everyone else.
Huh.
So you're not keeping it to yourself and being greedy, you're sharing.
Right.
So that sort of led along the lines, okay, I did the course, I spoke to Don, and when we had that meeting, even up until that meeting where Right Worshipful Scott Rickman, Brother Kemble, and I sat down, even then I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this. They invited me to the meeting, let's see what they have to say.
Yeah.
And then when Don pulled me aside, he goes, Paul, you know what, even I believe in you. That was the nail in the coffin for me. I go, okay, you know what? I have a brother who's a worshipful master or a past master like myself who just gave me a check mark saying, I'm in the same boat as you. If you're here today, there's a reason. You're not on your own. So I said, okay. So conversations went back and forth, and I just needed more time, so I decided to come this year. And again, the amount of support I got from home when I shared with my wife, at first she was kind of taken back. And she goes, what's going to happen with the boys? Then my boys got more involved with what I did because they helped me with my ritual. My oldest, I think he has the Black Book memorized better than I do. That's phenomenal because at first he didn't like the idea of being a Mason, but now he sees my dedication. He goes, Dad, I'm going to be a Mason.
Yeah.
He goes, this ritual is phenomenal. He goes, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
He goes, phenomenal. Right? He goes, I see your passion. When I heard my own boys tell me the passion and I started sharing with them my journey.
It's quite a reflection, isn't it?
It's quite a reflection, right? Because your kids really, like your daughter waving at you today.
They see through you.
They see through you and they see who you really are. Like adults cover up each other through all sorts of, I can't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow, and you don't do it. And you have all these cover-ups, but kids see right through you. And my oldest son says, he goes, why not this year? This is your year. I said, I have a really good friend. And I go, I don't want this to turn into competition. He goes, it's only a competition if you say it is.
Wow. That's deep insight.
And I'm like, and I go, how old are you? He goes, I'm 13. I'm like, wow.
Going on 48.
And that, God is my witness, and brother sitting next to me, I came and spoke to him about this.
Oh, yeah?
I shared him my concern. He goes, Paul, nothing to it. He goes, I'm honored that you are doing this together.
Yeah.
And there's nothing but been support. Like we're saying good things about each other, but we're running against each other.
Yeah.
See, that's how strong we are.
You're also running each other's campaigns, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and it's something that, and forgive me, I know I'm taking a bit of airtime here, but why wouldn't we want the Brethren of the District to have a choice? That's the thing that doesn't make sense to me when, it doesn't matter how good your progression is, doesn't matter how much vetting you've put in, a friendly race is, I think, the best way forward because the guys in the district need a choice. And if for whatever reason you think you're ready, your mentors think you're ready, but they don't, they need to be able to say that, and that's okay. You know, I'm not going to be hurt if it doesn't work out. I will be a little hurt, but you know, I get it, and that's the point, right? Is that if we're really Masonic about this, we need to trust that the district is going to do what's best for the district.
Right.
Absolutely, and I couldn't have said it any better. It's the first time I've run for something so big in my life, and it feels good because it doesn't feel like competition. There's no pressure from anyone. It's like my wife is so on board with this. She goes, "You're passionate." She goes, "I've never seen it, but she goes, your sons are getting involved with you. I can see it now. That this is really what you are all about, is to help in being something for yourself." Like all of us here, I'm not good at taking compliments either. I always say, it's a funny saying, I go, I did what I was supposed to do. I'm not looking for brownie points today.
Right.
Right.
Justification.
No justification, but it is hard when you get complimented on how to really absorb it. So when I, this year, sat down and had another meeting with all my past masters of Maple Lodge and my mentors, I called them up and they said, yes, we want you to do this. And it's a good thing for you to do because there's no rivalry between you two. There's nothing but friendship between you. And he goes, that's what we like about this dynamics this year. And there should be a choice. Brethren should be given a choice on what person is going to lead them. If Don gets it, I get it this year. Yes, there'll be a little disappointment, there'll be more happiness, there'll be a little bit less happiness and more disappointment. It doesn't matter. It's what's best for the district.
Right. I think it's safe to say that no matter who is chosen as DDGM at Grand Lodge, the district will be better off.
Yep.
It'll be obvious that that is the case. They're both like wonderful individuals.
It's like you're saying, I was there at the right place at the right time.
Getting a hug tonight?
Yeah, you're getting a hug.
2 hugs.
2 hugs.
And I like the idea of being there at the right time at the right place. That's what it comes down to, the old saying, right? I'm really stoked about this. I'm really excited.
Awesome.
About doing this. Like everyone else, there are some doubts, like what is my wife going to do next year? What are my kids going to do? So my family, my sister, my brother-in-law, who's also Mason, my wife's brother, her adopted family, they all came over to the house and they go, you do what you need to do. The boys will be taken care of. And this year I've been working with my boys of being a little bit more independent.
What a great opportunity.
Thought-wise.
Yeah.
And I'm giving them skill sets that, you know what? I know in a couple of years you want to be treated as adults. So here's some opportunities to sort of learn.
Earn that, yeah.
Earn that. And it's phenomenal to see that my own boys, like even today, my little one was on my wife's phone. My wife goes, Papa's leaving. Puts his phone down. He goes, okay, take care. Say hi to your friends for me. I go, what friends? You know, your Mason's friends. I know where you're going. I'm like, wow. And my middle one comes up to me. He goes, tell them I'll be within the ranks one day too.
Oh, all right.
So my little one already tells me, he goes, he goes, Papa, I'm going to grow up and be a past master. I go, in order to be a past master, you need to go through all this. And he doesn't get it. He's only 7.
Of course, yeah.
But he's like, no, I want to be a past master. I go, why? He goes, I want that gavel. And one guess, what do you think his favorite superhero is from the gavel?
Thor.
Oh, Thor.
Thor, you got it.
Yeah.
So my wife got him a gavel one year for his birthday. And he got his name engraved. It says Thor Danveer.
That's great.
And this year he goes to me, he goes, Papa, he goes, can you get engraved past master on there? I go, you have to earn that. You just don't put it on there. So it's
a little
phenomenal.
more work involved in that one, yeah.
It's phenomenal. And it's very true. If you have your family support, nothing can stop you.
Yeah.
And the support of the brotherhood is phenomenal because I see the brotherhood as a family as well. Right? I see my brethren as not brothers, but actual related to me brothers. My kids call the guys at my lodge uncles, right?
Yeah.
Dennis's son lives with me because it's closer for him to go to work than coming from Milton. And they look at me and they look at him. They're like, you're related to him? He goes, yeah, it's my uncle.
Yeah.
We went for lunch today at a tapenaki bar, at a sushi bar. The waiter comes over. He goes, this is my uncle. This is my dad. He's sitting on one side of him, and this is my uncle. He's looking at both of us. And my dentist goes, you won't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't understand.
This is a hard one to explain. Yeah.
But it's phenomenal. The guy down the street understood. And he came up to me. He came up to you. So, how old is your grandmother? I'm like, oh, you got it. So Masons are everywhere. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. But I truly believe the support of the brethren and the family is what's pushing me or taking me to this next level of my journey of becoming a district deputy grandmaster. And the unification and the idea of strengthening a phenomenal district and take it to the next level is even more exciting for me.
Fantastic. Well said. Brethren, I have one final question for you here, which would be, let's call it the closing arguments.
And I'm just going to say, like, I'm looking at the timer here, and I see
Yeah.
we're well over the hour mark.
That's
I don't know
okay.
how many guys have made it this far, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
think,
we have
I'll try to be brief.
We've had a good conversation, so I'll pose one last question to you. Looking to the future, you're either of you placed in as District Deputy Grandmaster. What are the priorities for York District and beyond?
What I'd say is I definitely would like to have Worshipful Brother Don Campbell next to my side.
Of course.
And yourself. You're doing a phenomenal job. I think we need more of the podcasting. Steve, you're doing a great job. We need to get Masonry out there. We need the people to understand Masonry's here. It's been around for 300 years. It's going to be here for another 300 years. We need to show the positiveness. Being involved with the community. I was approached by a couple of brethren. He goes, can we do something as not individual lodges, but as group of lodges and do something for our community?
Right.
So I've been asked to approach a fair and to invite 5 or 6 lodges to come together and have a booth at a fair. Because individually, yes, we're lodges, but York District is one solid unit.
Yeah.
And we should work together. And that's where we're going to gain our strength and support, is moving together. The idea that Worshipful Brother Julian Bolster had with the 5 lodges getting together and doing something at each lodge, I think that's a great start. And we should expand on that idea. Because we can use each other's support and get better at something.
Right.
Right? So unification would be the big thing I'd be looking for at York District, and solidify it even more. There's a lot of talent out there, like Steve. He's really great at this. We got some talent in Maple, we got some talent in Zaradatha, Richardson. We got a lot of talent that we need to develop, right? We need to give our older members some time to rest and mentor, and have these talent come in and fill those spots, develop them. Even if there's EAs, even if there's FCs, get them involved now at the grassroots,
Yeah.
where I was involved. That's why I was able to progress to where I am, because I was involved right from day one to be part of a bigger picture, not just a little thing that didn't have no bearings. My mentor did a great job with me, and I respect him for that. Even till today, we talk. He actually came back to Masonry, and I thank him for developing me in a way where I'm part of the picture, not just looking at it from someone else's eyes,
Right.
right? And that's what we need. Develop the new members, get them involved in districts, get them involved with the committee. I was the district librarian when I think I was a fellowcraft.
Huh.
So
There you go.
there's nothing stopping you,
Yeah.
right? And the talent we have now, and we need to be on the same medium with the social media stuff happening, we need that young talent to be out there
Yes.
using that platform to tap into the new generations of Masons, speak on their language.
Yep. Absolutely. Well said. Worshipful Brother Kimball.
Ditto.
What he said.
Yeah, I love the conversation around unification, and I think that's something that Right Worshipful Brother Rickman really started working toward, and I think we're seeing it continue now under Right Worshipful Brother Dresser. We've had a divided district for many, many years, and we've seen how rough that can get, and we really need to finally settle any of those differences that are above us and holding us back, and then work together as a team. I'm a huge proponent of service leadership. I think that anyone who is elected to this position needs to really listen and try to respond as the brethren, require. What do you need from me? What do you want from me, and how can I help with that? I also fully agree with Sat Paul that we have so much talent in the district, and one of my things when I was starting to kind of think about a trestle board was looking for people who are passionate, and then saying, well, where do you want to be? Like, what is it you're passionate about? And sometimes those responses will surprise you. Soon to be worshipful brother Ryan Schnoflack, I can't wait for that day, was one of the ones. And we sat down for a coffee, and I said, you've done a great job with social media. Is that where you want to be? I'd love to. Well, yeah, but I'd actually really like to. And oh, okay. Well, yeah, let's make that happen. And, you've got that leeway to take someone and anyone, because of course everybody is appointed at the pleasure of the right worshipful. Just like in lodge, everyone's appointed at the pleasure of the master. So you have the opportunity to take somebody who's a fellow craft like producer Steve and say, all right, you're now in charge of the podcast, or you're in charge of this, or you're in charge of that. And recognizing that there is so much talent out there, and there's so much ability to grow and develop and build. And then continue to look for ways, as Satpal was saying, of expanding our message. Producer Steve has this marketing background, and we've started producing some videos this year. Hopefully,
they're fantastic.
I was going to say, hopefully, the audience
really well
has
done.
check out. It's We Are Masons, right? We Are Masons is the channel on YouTube, and we've got some great pieces, and we're hoping to churn out a few more of those every month. And then some of the longer videos, like we just put together before the holidays, and then continue that. Why not have more video messages from our DD team? Why not have a podcast that, or have the DD recording, this was the highlights of our month.
Yeah.
Why not start getting that stuff out there and creating Instagram, or creating something where people can see the things we're doing. I also am, I love the charities we've been supporting the last few years. I think there's so many worthy charities out there. But one of the things I really remember from my first days in this district, we're going to a district meeting and having somebody from the charity come out and saying, this is why you're supporting us, or this is what your support is going to do. So when I was reaching out to charities and thinking about where I would want our money to go, one of the things I said is, if we raise X amount, what's that going to do? Like, what are you going to do with
What's
that
the
money?
impact of that?
So what can you, so if you say, if you give me $100, I'm going to buy a goat for a village in Africa, great, whatever. But what's that look like on the local level? Because obviously we want the money raised here to stay here. And there's so many awesome opportunities for that as well. And so I think there's a lot of great opportunities to bring back some of the best that we've seen in our district, and to continue to grow together. And that's really where I want to see us go as we move forward, into that Masonic light.
Well, brethren, that was outstanding. I thank you both for sharing your deep knowledge and insights, your passion for not only York District, but Masonry in general, and quite frankly, your love for each other. That is truly a beautiful thing. So I'll be looking forward to my hugs here at the end of this episode, and thank you all for listening in to the First Three Knocks.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the First Three Knocks. Happy to meet, sorry to part, happy to meet again.